All right. In this video, we're talking about boundaries and money. So, there were so many issues you guys have with your own boundaries with money that came in the survey. Overspending on your budget, right? Just living above your means. That was like the main one. Going out to eat too much. Spending money I don't have to spend on people, friends, family, whomever. Wanting to feel good. Right? Wanting to feel good and using spending money, whether it's going out or whether it is purchasing something to mood alter, right? Spending more than you make. And that was like 55 people said that, like just spending more than you make. Wanting instant gratification, feeling like you're stressed. It's almost like an impulse buy that will make you feel better. Again, all of this stuff had to do with mood, right? Impulse purchase and then having like buyer's remorse after the fact. Feeling guilty about it, saying you're not going to spend money you don't have, but then spending money you don't have and feeling bad. A lot of people never ever even created a spending plan. I wouldn't call it a budget because that sounds like a drag, but a spending plan. So having no idea what you can spend, how much your monthly expenses actually are, how much your monthly income actually is, just not keeping track of money either way, in or out. Feeling like someone wrote, I feel like budgeting limits my joy. You're like, yes, okay, maybe agreed, but then in the end, we're sad because we don't have money. Or we can't actually pay our bills, which is even more threatening than being sad. It's, can actually endanger where you're living or whatever. So boundaries with money, this is something that we learn all of this, most of it the wrong way, from our family of origin to a degree. So we're very influenced by what we saw growing up and what our experience was growing up. Other things that you guys said in the survey is, I can't say no when someone needs my help. Someone else wrote that they have family members that if they do better than the people in their family, it's expected that they will help them. And listen, this is also a very cultural experience. So in no way, shape, or form will whatever I'm talking about in this little video be an implication that anyone's culture itself is incorrect. It's about understanding your own boundaries with money and how to create a healthier relationship with money, which means having boundaries, because that's how you will create more abundance. Some of you said you share too easily, spending money on people, but as people-pleasing, right? Wanting to kind of get people to like you by buying elaborate gifts, going out to dinners that you can't afford to go out for. So, talking about money is very complicated because money is never just about dollars and cents. It always has meaning within family systems themselves, because some families love with money, right? They reward with money. If you do well in school, you'll get money. I mean, that was how I grew up. Not that, I grew up very middle class, but, if I got an A, my father would give me $20, let's say. But there was literally a reward attached to accomplishments that had to do with money. Now, that's not every family, but it impacts how you think about money. So if I do well, then can't that translate to now I want to reward myself with something that I'm spending money on? It does. A lot of this stuff is, though, unconscious. You may have financial fear, financial shame. If we grew up in lack, in financial insecurity, even if you have a lot of money now, if you do very well now, it doesn't matter how much money you have in the bank. If we don't figure out why we feel the way we do, if we don't understand that our childhood experiences will continue to impact our adult experiences if we don't unpack and honor them, that it won't matter how much money you have in the bank. If you never unpack that childhood financial insecurity, you may always just feel like you have to pinch pennies even if you have all the money in the world. So there is absolutely a psychological aspect to money and the way that we relate to it, for sure. So if you grew up thinking that even now in our culture, at least in the US, there's all of this holding up on a pedestal people who have money. There's nothing wrong with acknowledging someone's success, but it's like people who have money are better than people who don't have money, and that is not accurate, right? So the more you understand how you relate to money, what you're using money for, if you're self-soothing by overspending, if you're spending on friends out of insecurity, the easier it's going to be to create a healthy, boundaried relationship with your money, which is without a doubt the goal, right? Because you want to create abundance in your life and you want to feel okay about that abundance. So the top of mind for this topic is I'm going to ask you to keep a little money diary. And I want you to write down how you're spending your hard-earned cash. You can do it for a 2 to 3 day period. It doesn't have to be super long or extensive. Plus any emotions. So if you write down, I bought a $300 purse that I couldn't afford, let's say, then we're going to say, okay, what was the emotion? Did something happen right before you made that impulse buy? So you're going to start tracking. How did you feel? Were you bored? Were you frustrated? Were you sad? Did you, hit up some retail therapy to self-soothe? That's why we call it retail therapy. So you're going to write that down. You can do it for 2 to 3 days. But what's going to start to emerge is clarity about where you need better boundaries with your money. And there are other things. If you find out that you are, every time that you're sad, you make an impulse purchase. Now you know where to put your attention. Oh, when I'm sad, let me call a friend. Let me get into therapy if I'm sad all the time. Let me journal. Let me meditate, do breath work, take a tub, do something else that won't be something that you will later regret, that will put you in a financial hole. So again, we're sort of becoming like an emotional and boundary detective throughout this process of the time we're spending together, because I want to teach you how to find the origin of what is driving any self-sabotaging behaviors. And if you are spending money you don't have, especially on people you don't even like, or on people who you're not even close to, or on things you don't need, that you regret, that tells us you have a disordered, boundaried relationship with money. And listen, being young, a lot of us have that. If your family of origin, if there was no adult in your life who taught you about this, you can learn about this. So the go deeper portion of the money and boundaries part of this, we're really going to be diving into your money blueprint. So why do you relate to money and finances the way that you do? Because there's reasons why. It's what you learned, but understanding why makes it so much easier to change. So there'll be questions like, what was your family's culture around money? And when I say that, what I mean is, in some families, having money was important and aspirational. I came from a family where both of my parents grew up very poor, and I really felt like my mother had something against people who had money or didn't trust or didn't want to have a lot of money. It's like she lives very simply, and there's nothing wrong with that, and she's fine. She's very financially independent, even though she's 83, but I definitely got the vibe that I should want to add value to the world, and if I could make money doing it, that would be great. But she would not have been supportive of me becoming going on Wall Street because I wanted to make a lot of money. Like she wouldn't like that. It was like she didn't trust people with money. That has changed over the years, but there was a part of my parents' marriage where my father started doing very well in corporate America, going up the ladder. And when he finally made it is when my parents got a divorce, quote unquote, made it, And I remember my grandfather, my father's father, saying to my mother at one of my sister's weddings, they were dancing, and he was like, Janny, he finally made it. Like, he got to all the hard work, all of the moving to different cities and all the things that you did. Like, he made it. Why then did you want to get a divorce? And she was like, because I never cared about the money. He was never home. He was not interested in the family, which was the only thing I was interested in. From the beginning, I told him, I don't care about the money. So that also was something that stuck in my mind. If you make money, does your marriage break up? So, of course, obviously, I'm a therapist for the last 25 years. I've worked all that out in therapy. But all of those things were a part of my money blueprint that I needed to excavate and unpack and understand so that I didn't repeat it in my own life. I didn't want to not want abundance, right? And think that there was something wrong with that, because there is nothing wrong with that. Other questions that you're going to be writing about is who controlled the finances in the home that you grew up in. Was money used as a reward, right? Was it withheld as a punishment? And also, were your basic needs met or not? Were you worried about money as a child? Or did you have a whole abundance of money, but maybe it was all about the money, and that's what was important? Were you loved with money? Some parents who are very busy or very successful, they will give children things, many things, but not their time or their attention. And that is still a level of neglect, and that will absolutely create disordered boundaries with money in adulthood. So that is your Go Deeper section. And then I'm giving you some journal prompts so you can go a little bit deeper. They're optional. You don't have to do the journal prompts if you're not into it, and that's okay. But I think they're important. The first journal prompt is, what were the money myths that you learned growing up? Because we all have them. So I think you're going to get a lot out of that section. And then for take action, I'm actually taking a page out of one of my besties. Kate Northrup has a book that's called Money, a Love Story. And I put the whole thing in there, and I'm walking you through it. You're going to create a money love date with yourself. And Kate is sharing with us a bunch of actions that you can take. And you just choose the ones that resonate with you. You don't have to do them all. But one of them, which the moment I read this book years ago, I started doing, was checking my bank account balance daily. Being in a relationship with my own money, which I had never done before, and giving thanks, giving gratitude for what is there. So I think you're going to love the take action section of the money and boundary portion of what we're doing together. I know that was a lot, so I'm going to tell you that it's now time for you to go snuggle up and get to work.